Assistant President, what?
Sure, this meeting, I know, specific, I don't know. Call the meeting to order. Let's start off. First of all, we had a closed session with 2 items. No action was taken on either item. Directions were given.
Direction was given.
Okay, please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We had a roll call earlier, and Mr. Spurlock is on the fire line right now, keeping us safe, and we appreciate that for him, from him. Approval of the agenda. Before we do that, I'd like to, if there's no objection, move the presentation from the Sheriff's Department forward and have that be our next item. Other than that, I think the agenda looks fine.
And if I can, we don't have the Sheriff's Department under presentation. They're going to do their report during.
Oh, that's right, okay.
Council staff.
So add that.
So if you want to move that forward or help you.
There you go.
Any problem with that?
None.
Okay, then approve as amended. Motion to approve as amended.
Move the sheriff's report forward.
Yep.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve as amended.
Agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so next, the sheriff.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and distinguished members of the City Council, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to speak for a few minutes. I think you know Carl Houtman, our captain, who's in charge of field operations. Ben Wettstein is soon to be a sergeant. He's a senior deputy. And you know Louis Merrill, of course, our sergeant. And good men. We got a good team down here. First of all, I want to thank the City Council and the City Manager for being such great partners, and all the staff for always treating us so well and being such great supporters of law enforcement. I mean, we really highly value our contract, and the great citizens of the county as well as the city here just make this a very enjoyable place to work. And we want to thank you, and we want to thank you for the strong leadership and the support for law enforcement. Obviously, we've had a lot of challenges lately. We've got, kind of an upsurge in crime. We've had some violent crime, property crimes, not necessarily in Dunsmuir, but in the county and statewide. Assaults against peace officers are up, and sometimes we're under, fire statewide, and to have this much support from the City Council and your leadership has been extraordinary. And you not only support law enforcement, but you also support veterans and all first responders. So thank you for that. I commend you and salute you for that. Now, the good news is that we have a great team down here. And we've had the leadership of Sergeant Louis Merrill for quite a while here in Dunsmuir, basically the chief of law enforcement, but he's moving on. He's going to seek other opportunities in our court unit up in Wairika. He's got a lot of things going on, both on and off duty. He's done a great job, and normally when someone has seniority and there are other opportunities that they want to seek, we provide those, and that's kind of the less than favorable news, but the good news is that we have a great replacement for him. And Ben Wettstein is not only a great leader. I'll just give you a little background about him. Louis Merrill's got a lot of years in, done a great job, really loves the people. Well, Ben Wettstein's cut from the same mold. He's got about 17 years in law enforcement. He's actually worked for 2 city police departments, the Arcata Police Department and the Weed Police Department. He had about 10 and a half years with Arcata. He was a leader there. He made sergeant quickly, was a sergeant for 4 years, also worked for 4 years as a sexual assault investigator, was a watch commander for a couple of years, which means he was kind of operating at that lieutenant level. And he was one of their key leaders over there as a sergeant. He put in about 10.5 years, and he moved to Weed Police Department. He was a Weed Police Department for about 3 years, and he quickly rose to the ranks to corporal because he demonstrated leadership ability there. Was a detective for about 1.5 years. He's got about 10 years of field training officer experience, and for 1.5 years he was a detective in Weed, and a corporal, is a supervisor. So he's got some extraordinary experience. He's got a bachelor's degree. He was born and raised in Mount Shasta, just up the road, so he's very familiar with Dunsmuir. He's got a vested interest in seeing that the great citizens of Dunsmuir and the leadership here in the city are supported, 100% to pick up where Lou left off, and to continue moving forward with the law enforcement presence here. He also has he has a lot of talent. He's got a lot of family here. He's got a lot of ties here, and he's got extraordinary experience. And I think he's going to do a great job for you. Also, Ben is going to be a sergeant probably within 30 days. He's on the list. He's next one on the list, and he will soon be promoted to sergeant.
We can throw a party for him then?
Sure. Yeah, we'll throw a party for him. But he's a great asset to this department. He'll be a great leader for the city of Dunsmuir. And we always try to put a good leader in here because obviously leadership is important. And this contract with us is very important to me, to Captain Houtman, and to the entire department. And it's just an honor serving you. And I know that soon-to-be Sergeant Wettstein will serve you with honor, utmost integrity, and certainly work extremely hard for you, for the leadership and the staff and the great citizens. So I don't know, I leave anything out. You have so many credentials. He's even been a pastor. He's worked with kids a lot. He also was a community oriented policing coordinator in Arcata. And Arcata, as you know, is over in Humboldt County. And they've got a very good reputation as a law enforcement agency, and they're pretty progressive. And he was the community-oriented policing coordinator there, and we're looking forward to him, working with our neighborhood watch and our other community-oriented policing programs. But I think you're going to like him, and I think he'll do a great job for you. Carl, you have anything to add? Or?
Well, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Sergeant Merrow for the time that he spent, not only as a sergeant here, but as you recall, some of the longer residents that he used to live here. Spent a lot of time here, really has I'm sure Dunsmuir is dear to his heart, always will be, so he won't really be gone, he'll just be up working in the courts. But I just want to thank Sergeant Merrow for everything he's done. And then we have full confidence in Ben Wettstein. He's done a great job for us. We're fortunate to have him, and I'm sure the citizens of Dunsmuir will really benefit from him, particularly in Neighborhood Watch. He's got experience with that, and we look forward to building the Neighborhood Watch and helping out the community.
Deputy Wettstein, I'd like to say hello to the folks out there. You got a camera that'll be able to, you can say hello to them there.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm really looking forward to this post, and looking forward to working with the city government and with the members of this community, and just anticipating it, and just, like I said, looking forward to it. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
we look forward to having you. Okay, welcome to the neighborhood. But on the other note, Luke, council, if you would join me, I want to thank you, sir.
I agree, Louis. We're going to miss you, sir.
Hopefully you'll see me every Friday.
I'm sorry, Sergeant.
You'll still see him around, Mr. Mayor, and other members of the city council, and we do applaud you, Louis, for doing such a great job and leading such a great team for Ben to assume responsibilities for.
Thank you, sir.
You got some big steps to fill, shoes to fill.
Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, and on that note, Sergeant Merrill and myself and soon-to-be Sergeant Wetstein, I really want to thank Sergeant Merrill for all the service he's done. One of the keys that him and I really worked towards was communication, and I think that's been a vital part of the success that the Sheriff's Department and the city and our collaboration together is just communication. And Sergeant Merrill brought Sergeant Wetstein, I'm going to just call you Sergeant at this point, brought him in, and we worked together on this transition. And I want to say that Sergeant Wetstein was listening to everything that I had to say, the things that were important to me and with my relationship with Sergeant Merrill. He took to heart. He comes in, he's friendly to all the staff, he makes sure he asks how everyone's doing and if there's anything that's needed. He talks to me in confidential things, which I keep confidence, and tells me things that I can let out. He's following the leadership that Sergeant Merrill has turned over to him to a T. So I'm sure he's going to be incredibly successful. So I'm grateful to have you come
Right
back.
on.
Ms. Shannon, do you want to say anything?
I said, welcome.
Mr. Craig?
You know, he's talking about, you got this many years, this many years, this many years, I looked over, he's like, I would card you for, if you came in the bar. You look young, dude, you know.
I got it.
He does, I say, cool.
Well, Sheriff, anything else other than thank you for giving us?
By the way, happy birthday, Mr.
Oh,
Logan.
thank you. It was Saturday, but thank you. At my age, I usually forget the birthday. But
Facebook.
thank you very much. It means a lot to me.
Thank you. Sergeant Merrill, would you like to say goodbye?
Please. Come on, Lou.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you very much. I definitely appreciate your kind words. The sheriff is absolutely true when he says, the contract relationship that we have with the folks of the city of Dunsmuir is very close to us. We've been here for a long time. And we appreciate that relationship as well as the service contract we have. I think Mark's, review of that transition, I think is extremely accurate, and it doesn't come easy as well. We know as a city, without the leadership of having a city council who's backed up in the same way, without having intentional interims and all that, it creates that structure change, and there's no foundation there to build on. And the foundation that Mr. Brannigan has brought has clearly benefited all of us. Working specifically on that relationship piece certainly adds to that, as well as the direct involvement of the city council. I know that with each councilor that changes, that relationship changes. With each of the deputies that come to the town, with each of the supervisors, always change that. But I think the relationship now is extremely solid. We recognize that benefit so well is that we took this rotational opportunity. I switched to nights and Ben switched to days to start this transition, not knowing exactly when my transfer will actually occur, so that it could be as seamless as possible. We wanted to pick up the momentum of all those good things that are going, to continue those, and then work on those other things that still need to be accomplished. So again, it's just one more piece, so that we thank you for allowing us the opportunity to be here and fulfill your contract services, and I thank you very much for your kind words.
Sheriff, thank you very much for your continued support, and we look forward to the new relationship evolving and continued real positive things to come.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, it's an honor working with you and for the people of Dunsmuir. And appreciate all your support and the city council and city manager and all the staff. Thank you again, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely. Okay, with that in mind, we now move on to the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the July 5th meeting.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Next, we have presentation from John Hill on smart meters. Mr. Hill, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. So I also want to say that I'm a member of Neighborhood Watch, and so I want to be more active in that program. And I have some ideas around that too. So what I'd like to do, I came here tonight with the intention, as a concerned citizen, to provide information that promotes the health and safety of the residents of Dunsmuir. And with that in mind, I'm going to talk about 4 issues that I think are of concern to the people of Dunsmuir. And I've been disseminating information as best I can. And I think I've developed somewhat of a reputation amongst a lot of people on Facebook. But I think that what's important is to understand or to ask some questions, and one of the questions is why. You know, why are smart meters being disseminated now? What's the purpose? What's the agenda behind it? And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that, but I do want to talk about the agenda. And that agenda is out of the United Nations, Agenda 21, and now known as Agenda 2030. So I don't know how many people here, does anyone here know about what Agenda 2030 is?
Yes.
Yeah? A few people? Raise your hand. No? All right, so you can look it up online. Like I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. But it is about creating a smart grid, smart cities, Internet of Things, and ultimately it's about control and surveillance to some extent. So the four concerns that I want to address tonight, one of the concerns is around surveillance, privacy. So with the advent of the smart meters, which are now being rolled out in the city, what's going to start happening is that you're going to be watched in terms of what you use, the appliances you use. Every item in your home that consumes electricity has a unique power signature, which means that it will know what you turn on, how long you turn it on, when you use certain appliances, and that information will be collected and then will be most likely given to third-party marketers. So your information will not necessarily be private, even though they say that it will be. It won't target you individually. However, the other concern is that hackers, you know, there's been plenty of stories about information being hacked through the internet. So they can hack, because this is an open system, it's not encrypted, so they can hack in and find out, for example, if you're at home or not, or when you're at home, or if you're going away on the weekends. They can get that information and find things out about you. So, so those are the privacy concerns. The other concern, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but many people have health concerns around it. Now, I suffer from a mild form of what's called EHS, which is electrohypersensitivity. And there are other people, there are other people that also suffer from EHS. And in fact, today someone posted in Neighborhood Watch, in the Facebook group, that she had opted out of smart meters, but they installed a smart meter anyway. Now, I don't know if it was a mistake, if it was intentional, or what the problem was, but she's already experiencing symptoms such as sleeplessness, insomnia,
Headaches,
nervousness,
headaches.
headaches, yeah.
Yeah, I read that.
And some people, you know, kind of ridiculed her, dismissed her concerns and stuff, saying it's hysteria. But it is a fact that there are thousands of people, and there could be millions in the future. But what happens is that if you're exposed enough to EMF, electromagnetic fields, then at some point there's a tipping point and you suddenly become sensitive. And not everyone's sensitive, and people that aren't, you know, don't feel anything, but people that are sensitive, I know one woman who had to buy an older model car before all the electronics were put into the car because she couldn't handle the electronics, the EMFs generated by the newer cars. So, so there are a lot of health effects, and if you're interested, you can go online. I've got a Facebook group called Health and Safety that has tons of information, tons of links and resources that you can look at. But I will tell you this, that there have been over 20,000 peer-reviewed studies that have been done around the biological effects of electromagnetic radiation. And I'm talking about non-ionizing, non-thermal effects. Because the way that the FCC has looked at the problem or the issue is that if it's not thermal, in other words, if it doesn't cook you, then it's not dangerous. But there have been plenty of studies show that there are effects, and usually it's cumulative. You know, it may take 10 years for you to develop a tumor. So I just want you to know that there are health effects related to it. But like I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. The other thing that I want to talk about is cost. So I will tell you right now that if you have a smart meter, your costs will go up, your bill will go up. It's very, very rare. I'd say over 80% of installations of smart meters, bills have gone up. And I'll tell you why. There's a couple of reasons. First of all, the analog meter that you have right now, if you still have one, it's been around for years. It's been well designed, and what it does is it simply measures the cumulative power that you use. It's electromechanical, very safe, doesn't generate any EMFs or anything of that sort. But it's very accurate and repeatable. So your bills pretty much come out the same if you're during a particular period of time. It's usually the same every month. But with the smart meters, what they do is they're digital, and so what they do is they sample. And if you know anything about electrical appliances and things of that sort, that there are often spikes that occur, like when you turn on the lights, there's a sudden peak in your voltage and then it'll settle out. Or if you turn on a motor, blow dryer, or let's say your refrigerator turns on, that what will happen is that the initial period when it's turning on will be a lot of juice that's used, consumed. It takes a lot of power for it to start, but then once it's settled in, it'll settle out. So what it's doing is it's sampling, and so depending on where it's sampling, you may have more power recorded than you're actually using cumulatively. Is that making sense? Now, the other problem with the smart meters is that the smart meter injects what's called dirty electricity. Now, dirty electricity, and this is into the lines into your house. Dirty electricity is what, there's a switch mode power supply that turns the AC current into DC current to power the smart meter. Because the smart meter, just like your computer, just like your cell phone, just like your televisions, anything that's digital, runs on DC current. Well, the switch mode power supply injects transient voltages on top of the smooth AC current. So you've got these little spikes. And those spikes can be as much as, like your AC current may be 180 volts peak to peak. The spikes can be as much as 40 volts. Now they could be as low as 10 or 15, but...
Why don't we just focus right now, assuming somebody gets your information, or...
Okay, I'll see that.
What can they do? What are their options? Let's just focus on that.
Oh, well, basically the only option is to opt out. And you have to, it's best to opt out both ways. And you can go on health and safety, the Facebook group, there's information there. But you have to notify Pacific Power, and you also need to notify a flare-up, 2 different numbers. And you need to get a letter from them, and you need to make sure, well, they've been messing up, so they've been coming to the home, and oftentimes either they made a mistake and they install it. You do what you can to prevent them from installing it.
Put a sign there saying that you don't want to play your
Yeah,
meter.
right. And just to finish up the spikes, the transient voltage dirty electricity, is that will add to your power. And finally, the smart meter consumes power just to run it. So if you have nothing else on in your home, you're going to pay between $10 and $20 a month just to
To run their equipment.
What's that?
To run their equipment.
Exactly, exactly. And I have not talked about fires, but there have been hundreds of documented cases of fires caused by the smart meters. And what will happen is that, let's say a branch falls on a power line, or let's say a truck runs into a power pole, there's going to be a surge of voltage. And the smart meters have a surge protector, but it's only rated at 300 volts. And oftentimes these are going to exceed that. And in fact, in Stockton, there was an incident where a truck ran into a power pole, and there were, whatever that power line was connected to in the neighborhood, all the smart meters exploded. So my concern is of a fire starting at some smart meter that's installed somewhere in Dunsmuir. And so I think one of the things that I would like to make sure that we have is an evacuation plan, and also a plan to notify everyone in the neighborhood, through Neighborhood Watch perhaps, to make sure that everyone gets out safely, if there is such a thing as a fire that gets started.
Thank you. Mr. Craig, any comments, questions?
No, there's a few facts and figures that you stated that have run a little contrary to the research that I've done. Specifically the cost of the smart meter itself.
Yeah.
The manufacturer says that they use about 1 kilowatt hour to run the smart meter itself per year. And so in
1 kilowatt hour per year?
That's correct.
Okay, well, there's an engineer in...
I
know. I just to tell you, it was 2.1 kilowatts per month.
Okay, the manufacturer says about, or the power company says that it's about 1 kilowatt per year, which for us would be about 12 cents per
Right,
year.
and they told us that they would notify us before they started installing smart meters, so...
Okay, so even if it was 2 per month, then that would be about 24 cents per month, not $20 to $30 as you planned.
Right.
So that was the only point of contention in terms of the facts and figures of the costs that I had researched.
Okay.
That's
Any other questions?
Mr. Baxter?
No.
DeJonte?
No, I've already opted out, and I actually had to do with a smart meter in Arizona, and it wasn't a good experience. Actually, I think that, when it was introduced in Arizona, it was all the same, narrative that is being pushed here. And what they were trying to get to is being able to determine peak hours versus non-peak hours. I was doing laundry at midnight. Because in the summer, when it's 122, you do not, turn off your air conditioning unit, which is already ridiculously expensive. So, and they measured in 15-minute increments. So if any power use, came in within that 15 minutes, everything was charged at that. And we had horrendous power bills. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of talk about the health concerns. But the economic ramifications were horrendous. For a state that, had some pretty onerous costs for electricity during the summer months.
Yeah, we're going to
And
find
I already
out.
opted out, and so far my letter is still taped to my meter, and they haven't yet. I mean, I talked to them yesterday, so. But I know a lot of people are very upset in the city because they've opted out and they still haven't changed out. I don't know.
So they don't ask us to put it?
No.
They're supposed to ask you. Carolyn, they're supposed to ask you. In California, you are supposed to have a choice of opting out of the smart meter.
They sent it to me in a couple months ago, I think in a bill or in a letter or something that said that
Yeah, right
you have the
now-
opportunity to opt out, but I don't think you.
You see, I never received one. I just knew that I could opt out.
I'm sorry?
I never received any letter stating that I could opt out. I mean, I just knew, I called them, I opted out, I received my confirmation letter. I get my bills electronically, and, luckily, I've already, my current bill says resident no smart meter, so, I was luckily at home today when the installers were by, and my letter's taped up there.
So they left?
Well, they're changing people that aren't home, or, they're
I heard
changing.
somebody put a letter up and they changed it anyway.
Right.
Yes.
I was at
Put a letter, I
home,
put a
so-
Rottweiler on my meter.
Yeah, and
But that's, that's something that individual people have to now take up with Pacific Power, because everything that they have said, I mean, they gave me dates of September. Even a week and a half ago, they said they were going to be on my street in September.
And they were there today.
And he said he's only doing one half of the street. He's not even doing the other half. He goes down to the end of the block and starts up the other side of the street. I mean, it's, but that's, I think not something that the individual people have to have a massive, phone calls to Pacific Power. I mean, right now, the city of Manchester is having a special meeting, because of 80 people that are so irate at what is, how the rollout happened in Manchester.
there's a CPUC, because there's a complaint department, consumer division in the CPUC. And the problem is, all the other areas in the state, all the other utilities, the fee is $10 for opting out, a monthly fee of $10, and then $5 for care customers. Now, a judge has ruled that he feels that the rates should be, and he agreed with Pacific Power, that the rate should be $20 in Siskiyou County and $16 for care customers. And there's a 3-year sunset clause in all the other parts of the state, but there would be no sunset clause. So in other words, in 3 years, those fees would go away. But in Siskiyou County, according to the judge, they would continue forever.
So the
Where's that
city-
judge? Who judges that?
What's that?
What judge is that?
And what was the decision by the name?
I can give you the name, I don't know offhand.
I'll give you a number, I want his name.
Tell you what, let's wrap this up then, and what is the name of the website, where if they want, the Facebook page, where if they want some questions?
Health and safety,
Health and safety.
yeah.
So let's carry the conversation forward there, and if you have any questions, I'm sure Mr. Hill will be glad to.
Yeah, I'm
talk to you.
available anytime. So-
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, let's move on to committee reports. Before we even start that, H should go away. We already decided that, so there's no H. Ron Dan?
Why don't we just go with the ones that have that?
I know, I just wanted to point it out ahead of time. First of all, economic development and tourism.
Julie, can you make a note about?
So we need to come up with a meeting. I know that I talked to Mr. Digis, he wants to do that, so we'll just plan on doing that. And one of the key items we want to start off with is making some movement towards turning the airport property east up there into an industrial park. I think that's our big goal moving forward right now, is to try and negotiate that. So we'll come up with a time and date and notify everybody. Finance?
Hasn't been since.
So no meeting. Public facilities and services, as met, I would assume. Airport, we're going to be talking about the airport later on, so we'll just put that one off. Emergency plan task force.
No, but I have a feeling that with the fires raging everywhere, all of a sudden people are going to be very interested to actually work on this.
You want to try and set a meeting? And
No, I'm not doing anything right now until I feel
Okay.
things.
Veterans Memorial. The only thing I'd like to add to that, and it's good that the sheriff is here so we could hear it kind of for the first time. We were looking at the possibility, Mr. Digis and I, and Mr. Heisler here, of the piece of property that where the cannon is right now, that there is enough area there that we could make a nice Veterans Memorial there. So moving forward, the committee will bring that back to life again to start that process.
Where, I'm sorry?
Right outside where the flagpole is. We're looking at getting a new flagpole.
Blue flagpole, replacing it, put up like a wall underneath the windows with the names of people who have served right here.
That's the way.
Fire department, police, military, people who have served in this town, so.
Looking forward to continuing on with that then. Okay, next, Mossbury Trail, they did tell us about Mossbury.
There's just one development, which is that we had the meeting, or the high rail trip that I mentioned last time.
Yeah.
Which was scheduled for August 14th. I'm not sure if it's because of the fires or whatever reason, but they've asked to reschedule to, he said later in August, but it hasn't been rescheduled yet.
That's mostly for the John.
And just again, I end up
Their
there.
their request is in, so I don't know for sure when it will be rescheduled, but it was one this one.
Okay, there is no broadband to talk about, so next beautification.
I
See in here.
the meeting yesterday, I didn't feel it.
Okay.
I really
I was
personally.
there, and the committee met with just 3 members and a couple of people in the audience. The one point of discussion was mostly about the existence of the committee itself, in terms of, it's mostly a seasonal endeavor, doing outdoor beautification projects in the city. So last year, the committee didn't really meet from about October to April or something like that. So there was some discussion about whether or not to do that again this year. Just take the winter months off essentially and not meet. There was some discussion about whether or not to just meet on an ad hoc, as needed basis rather than monthly meetings. And the decision was made to keep monthly meetings going, to keep whatever momentum the committee has going. And to just essentially take meetings off during the winter months when there's not a lot to meet about. There was some discussion about the successes of the committee. There have been several new benches downtown, as you all have seen, that was spearheaded by the beautification committee and the property owners who allowed us to put the benches downtown. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm always going this way. As well as flowers. There were some new flowers planted downtown. Some other items that have come to we really sort of had an existential discussion about the committee insofar as, where do we want to see it go and what the purpose of it is, and kind of coalesced around the idea that it's a vehicle for citizens to bring beautification projects to the city council without having to come to the city council meeting, which requires a staff report and all that. So we wanted to continue to do that, be a vehicle for ideas about beautifying our town. There, of course, was discussion about whether or not beautification, whether or not, enforcing our historic district ordinance in terms of peeling paint on buildings and requiring property owners to upgrade the facades of their buildings to be compliant with our code really counted as beautification. I contended that it really doesn't, and that it's not really a matter for the beautification committee, but if the beautification committee wants to be the squeaky wheel that brings those matters to the city council where that authority does actually lie, then that's fine, and that's a good use of the committee as well, that's fine. And so I'm trying to kind of orient the committee to focus on the things that are part of public property, and then that's what the authority that the committee has is to bring projects that are part of the commons, that are owned by all of us as part of the public, not necessarily, have a focus on what's happening on private property. That being said, the historic district is a huge part of our downtown and our economic future, of course, and so there will continue to be, I'm sure, a chorus of people who want to see the city enforce the historic district ordinance more strictly.
Which I think includes all of us council members.
I think so too. That is not the impression that a lot of people have. And so we need to do a better job of conveying that is our goal. I don't think it's really a law enforcement issue, as it's a code enforcement issue, and sometimes there's overlap there, obviously. But we do not currently have a code enforcement officer in the city, which we've had a part-time position in the past who's done some of that. We don't have one now, and so It is something that we hear about a lot, and we're trying to find the funds to be able to fund either a part-time or a full-time position going forward. That's something I think that the whole city council would love to see. So as far as law enforcement has any ideas for us on how to better do code enforcement, we're all ears. I'm sure it's something every city struggles with. But, that's all that I have for the beautification committee.
While you're talking, you wanted to take up cannabis too?
The committee.
Yeah.
Oh, that hasn't met since our last meeting. As far as I understand, I can just finish up. As far as I understand, the statement was drafted in favor of putting the tax measure on the ballot. And I think the city council has already, done the work to figure out where we want those rates to be. So essentially, it'll be up to the citizens to decide if they want to tax that industry or not. And the city council has already done the work to figure out where we want to allow or disallow any activity.
What are you guys gonna write a, you're gonna write a pro, when are you gonna write a
It's
con?
already been filed.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm just,
There
Sure.
would be no sense for the city to have a opposing position.
Since we're asking to put it on the ballot.
Right, so we have a position, that's favorable.
Do you have
It's
that?
already
Okay,
been
I got
written,
that
and
language.
it was filed on the first.
Let me see.
good job, guys, thank you.
Mark can read the language.
If I have it on my thumb drive.
Oh, okay.
Let me see.
But there's been no other progress as far as I know, Mark. in
No, I
terms
don't
of-
have it.
Okay.
I did talk with John Kenny before our closed session today to see, get the status on where he was at with drafting the ordinance. He's still working on it. I told him that I was talking with our planner yesterday, and we're talking about next steps. We're meeting our planning commission's meeting next Wednesday. So he was indicating that maybe he can get it in time for the next planning commission, but there's no way. So hopefully he'll have something by this month. As soon as I get the document, I will schedule a cannabis task force meeting for everyone to review and make comment on as well. And then I'm asking our attorney to provide direction on steps that we need to do to move it forward.
Is there another separate path going on to identify and lock in the application and the application process? Because you're just working on the ordinance to codify everything in
No, I mean, we are working, Mr. Kenny presumably is working on that ordinance, but also the applications have already been approved by the committee and are on Mr. Kenny's desk for,
Okay.
oversight and submission back as part of the regulations that have to happen.
Yeah, the things that haven't been done yet is we haven't identified what the fees are going to be. And we don't have a consultant of who's going to be processing these applications identified. I have ideas. So once we have the ordinance in draft, we have the applications, be looking at who are we going to consult with to process these applications, and we have to come up with the fees. So we'll have to go back and look at what the costs have been so that we can recoup the costs through the fees.
But there is a consultant who has offered to do the
Yes.
service, and we know how much it costs, so.
He put out a range. We need to really kind of show, once we have the ordinance, that'll help identify what the cost might be.
Okay. Okay, then, let's go on to announcements and public comments. Is there anyone from the public who would like to make a public comment? If so, the podium will be open. If not, I won't open the podium. I won't waste the podium's time.
Podium must be open.
It's
You
open.
close it.
Now it's closed. Okay, so let's start with Mr. Craig. Comments for you, sir, and we'll move around council members.
I think I spoke at length just now, and I'm tired of talking.
Okay, I know Mr. Kaiser here has a request for a moment of silence here for somebody. Well, I'll give you the floor here.
I was thinking that before we close this meeting tonight, that we would have a moment of silence for, I have family that has been affected by the fires, but our fellow council member, Josh, he's actually fighting the fires. Pace Engineering, our own city engineers, 3 of their employees lost their homes. And for all the firefighters and the victims, for both the Hornbrook and the Carr Fire, as well as all the fires in the state of California. as far as law enforcement, we're backing them up. I thought we would just do, before we close, I'm requesting that we would do a moment of silence for all those people.
You can do it right now?
I think it'd be better if we do it before we close.
Okay.
I got a couple announcements. One, Big Fish has been planted. So if you're not aware of it, the Big Fish program is active. Go out and fish. The Bruce Fest has been postponed to September 8th.
Brew Fest?
The Brew Fest has been postponed.
Bruce Fest?
Brew Fest. Bruce Fest?
I think it's a Bruce Fest.
Brew Fest has been postponed until September 8th. For those of you that weren't at the concert Saturday, it was awesome. They're called the Pacific Crest Music Festival. These kids were awesome. They had the little violins, they had some singers, I was very impressed. So I give the Botanical Gardens Committee big 2 thumbs up. You guys put on a great performance. It was a great thing, and for those of you who missed it, there was smoke everywhere, but the trees right around the park seemed to block out. It was crystal clear. Everybody had a good time, so I was glad I went. Couple other things. Okay. Couple things that I haven't seen that okay. One is parking meters. There was a group of 70 people. That was just one group. Over 600 people went. I got a guy that counts, he clicks. 600 people. If we had parking meters that would just say, hey, you know what, $4 a day to park here. We would make $400 on Saturday, $400 on Sunday. You want to talk about repairing roads? Even if we have some meters when we do get parking, these meters could cover the cost of, I don't know, cleaning the trash cans or the bathrooms that are on the trail. Whatever, it could be, it's a way to make money, and I don't see nobody taking any action on it. I see them parking, I see them going, what's up? Okay? And this is the 3rd time I've said that. So at the next council meeting, I really would like to see something talking about some parking meters. The clock, I think the check was paid. The clock's not been paid. And I still haven't, I'm on a roll. This is directed to you, sir. I still have not been on a field trip to the Box Canyon Dam, nor as council. We really want to know, that dam plays a vital part of our safety, our tourism, and our everything. I really want to, the guy said that we could come, so somebody needs to coordinate it. Another thing is that guy, I want to reiterate that health and safety website from that guy. It might be vital for some of you guys to check that out. And I just want to make sure that we have a moment of silence before we adjourn. I request we go into a moment of silence for our peoples that's making this work.
Shanta.
I think I will just stay silent.
Okay. Our new sheriff in town, our new captain, would you like to make a report?
No, sir.
Okay, just did, I figured. Mr. City Manager.
Just more to respond with Councilmember Dave Keisler. And some of the things about Canyon, I did start coordinating last year with the Public Works Director, who was actually here this afternoon. And there's a time window we have to get in there. It's a lot of coordination, so I'll make that call again and see if we can coordinate that back around. Parking meters, I think it's a great idea. Next council meeting, I don't know if I can. It's a lot of research, a lot of my time to be able to present something to the city council. I don't think I can bring something to council by next council meeting, because we still have the lease, and I have a pile of things.
But just tell me that we're working on it, it's a good idea.
Well, let's say goals are one of the things I do want to get scheduled where the city council can identify what the goals are, primarily for me, so that I know what the top priorities are, because I want to make sure that I focus on what the city council wants as top priority. Making money is always one of my top priorities.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, wouldn't this be something that perhaps the members of the Economic Development Committee could research
That's good.
and help prepare a report, do some
That's good.
preliminary report?
So we'll add that to our first agenda then?
Yeah.
Next agenda. Good idea.
It's about making money, isn't it? What?
Do you know Sam with your
Yeah.
He knows where there's a garage full of meters, just waiting to be installed. Oh,
Anything else?
All I know is they
That's
took all those meters out of the ground at some point for a
For a
reason.
reason.
And I'm pretty sure that reason was because it was not cost effective to
Right.
keep paying people to check them through. So there's an economic issue. So we'll figure it out.
Okay, one more thing. A couple weeks ago that I requested that we recognize a couple people, and that list got cut down, and I can understand. But there's two people that I think that we should bring to council and recognize, and that would be Luann and David for the time and the pain. They did it all out of their pocket to do that stage. And at that concert, the stage was pristine. They did an awesome job. They got a lot of hours and a lot of money out of their pocket, so.
With no objection, we'll go ahead and
Sorry,
proceed.
Luann and David, they came to
David
the
is
stage.
station?
Her boyfriend, around the stage.
Okay, great.
He's a good painter.
Okay.
We had already agreed before, but
No objection, let's do that.
it's time we do it, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Before we move on, I'm sorry,
Yes.
I had just one thing, which was another thing that came up at the beautification committee meeting, which was that the idea of putting the planter boxes on the bulb out. I think that idea, at least the people who had brought that to the beautification committee was Gene and Nyla, I can't remember their last
The
name.
ones with the money?
They donated $500 to the beautification fund to help get that going. They're under the impression that that's not going to happen now and that something else is going to happen. And Gene wants his money back if that's not going to happen. And he said that he's trying to get it back at City Hall but hasn't been able to do so. So I just want to make sure that if we can refund him his money, okay. I thought it might be that, but I'll just encourage him to go to City Hall and could we refund him the $500 that he donated to the
have
beautification?
him talk to the finance director to get his money back.
Okay.
The last time I spoke with him, he was all excited about the idea of getting the statues that we had discussed. But we'd really like to get a local artist to do it.
And
So-
perhaps that's the case. Last I heard was the report that he.
If there's any local artists that do sculptures, get a hold of them at City Hall.
Okay, anything else?
Just one more thing, there's a mention about the clock. As I was walking back and looking at the possible sidewalk projects, I saw Brad, yeah, he said that he's going to be cleaning the clock next Tuesday and painting it the following Tuesday.
Okay.
Doesn't cleaning your clock usually do that?
Cleaning your club.
Okay, moving onward, consent agenda. Do I hear a
I
motion?
make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No public hearing, no old business, one piece of new business, approval. Sheriff, if you all want to leave, I don't know if you're here just to be kind or if you really have an interest, but if you'd like to leave, we won't be insulted.
Well, you get there.
It's up to you.
It's not that we don't like having you here, but if you got other stuff to do, we got it.
Okay, well, thank you very much, I appreciate the hospitality.
Yeah, thank you.
And all the support, and we're greatly appreciative.
We both figure you've got better things to do than listen to us right now.
We'll see you later, Lou.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Felt guilty having them sit over there where we're.
No, he got to stay. It's part of his gig now.
Yeah, that's right.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Okay, awkward Mark?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the item we have on the agenda for today has to do with a request for authorizing the city manager to execute a grant application for supplemental discretionary funds for the Federal Aviation Administration. In a nutshell, on July 9th, the FAA published in the Federal Register an announcement that eligible airports, which Dunsmuir is one of, can apply for these funds, and they've released $1 billion, which is unheard of act that they recently did. And the city is in the position, because of the pavement management plan that was done and the airport layout plan, and the city is also has applied for engineering grant funds. We haven't received the approval for that funds yet, but it's in the works. Everything's kind of coming together at the same time. But because of that work, the city's in a position to be eligible to receive the funds for the runway replacement. Originally,
Did you make right up front the big key point about this?
it's 100%, there's no match requirement. And in my, I kind of wrote this pretty quick because I just got noticed of this requirement to get this into the city council. I think it was on Tuesday or, no, it was on Monday, because I had to get the staff report done. So I wrote this quick, and my options is confused, it's a little confusing. Where, what I was looking at is what are the options the city council has. We have a runway that's been determined to be so bad it can't be repaired, it has to be replaced. And we're looking at trying to get the funds to replace that runway without it costing the city any money. So what we're looking at doing was trying to get the grindings off the freeway as a match. So the city has a match, a 10% match. And we were looking at using the grindings from the freeway project as
5.5%.
5.5, yeah, with the Caltrans, yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interject. I do need to interject.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interrupt. You're talking about the other loan would have the match under the old.
If we didn't get this.
If we didn't, okay, I just want to make sure. that's-
Yeah, to do the runway, right now we have two options. Option one is looking at trying to get the asphalt grindings to cover our match.
Yes.
And discretionary funds, that's the other part, is we don't have enough money banked for the city of Dunsmuir to cover the whole runway cost. So we're looking at discretionary funds plus our match of the grindings to cover 100%, so that we're covering our costs. What they came out, and that's becoming less, we're getting concerned because the asphalt grindings are getting to be more sought after. So we're not sure if we're going to get enough of the grindings to cover our 10% match, but we're still working at trying to get them. And fortunate for us is they now just came out with this new program where they're releasing this $1 billion for funds. That's 100% grant funding. There's no match for the city. So we're still going to try to get the grindings, but we're looking at piling them for other stuff that we're still looking to do in the future for the airport. And if the council so chooses to go forward and apply for these funds, then if we receive the funds, it'll be 100% paid for.
It's free money.
Yes.
In the
There's no
airport,
such thing as free money with the FAA.
in the airport layout plan that is completed now, does that give a cost estimate for the runway replacement?
Yeah, I added into the packet, there's at the very end, there's a CIP project list. And the runway and connector taxiways is $1,690,000. Yeah.
Free.
Well, but the grant's only for $1 million. So
It's,
$690,000.
well, the grant will be for
Everything
the
else
cost.
is-
There's two grants that are going on right now. We have we're trying to get the engineering grant that we've already applied for, it hasn't been approved. And then this is where we're asking for council to either support or to not support, requesting for full cost to do the runway. So the engineering grant would be, we've already been requesting for the cost for engineering services to design the runway. And then that's going to be used to go out to bid, to actually do the work. And then the grant money will be what's being used to cover that cost to actually build the runway.
And the grant money for the design work is covered where our matches is being done through the work we're already paid for you and
That's right.
et cetera. So we don't have to put out any extra funds from our budget to make that happen.
That's correct.
How do we know that the work that we've already done at the airport allows us to be eligible for the 100% match loan, grant?
Well, in the list, in the packet here, there's a FAA list. And if you look down at the bottom, I highlighted that the city of Dunsmuir is on the list. So we're already an eligible airport. But to more specific your question, they either approve the grant application or they don't.
What I'm asking though is if we hadn't had a valid airport layout plan
No.
or improvement plan, then we would not have been eligible.
Well-
Is that a true statement to make?
Not really.
I would say it is, because we part of this is we are doing we're getting the engineering done. And we wouldn't have been able to get the engineering done had we not had the airport, or the pavement management plan that shows you the costs here.
And
But we
put that
haven't-
on that list if we had not been up to date with FAA. If we didn't have an airport layout plan, we didn't have a pavement management plan, we wouldn't have known we're 3 out of 10. And that's why we got on the list, I think.
Yeah, I don't know that, but I do know that right now we're in the position where we've applied for the engineering to do this work. And the only reason we've been able to get that far is because of coming this far. So if we had not been with the application for engineering, then we would not be, because they're looking for people who are ready to spend the money
Yes.
this calendar year to go out to bid. So we're at that point. Had we not come this far, we wouldn't have been at this point.
I just wanted to reiterate for the edification of the public that it has been a point of contention about whether or not to even do anything at the airport in the past. And there have been real costs to the city associated with updating the airport layout plan and the other project, runway improvement, whatever it was, that weren't fully recoupable by the grant. We did have some costs there. But in my opinion, that work was worth doing at the time and is even more so now, given the fact that we're eligible for 100% match grant for the construction of the
Boom, God, good job.
Before we have any further discussion, I think the public wants to comment, so open the podium to the public. Carol, did you were raising your hand, is that correct?
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Did you want to comment? No. I closed the podium, then, it's not closed. Okay, further discussion.
So, could you summarize just briefly, are there any downsides to at least applying for this?
I don't see a downside to applying. Under the assumption that we're going to be able to that they're going to approve our application and that we're going to make the deadlines. Probably one of the biggest challenges are there's very tight deadlines. And the engineering has to be done very quickly, and that needs to be turned around so that we're at a place to go out to bid and be able to spend this
Might
money.
be heat, right?
Yeah.
Heat
Is this
delivery.
something? I'm sorry, who is he?
Heath is with Black Dyer, and so
Okay.
they're the ones who did the pavement management plan.
Okay.
They've been hanging with us all along. He's really been helpful, even though he hasn't get any money out of us, because he's prepped to do this.
Is this something that, to meet those deadlines, is something that our consultant is going to be handling,
Yes.
Carol Ford?
It'll be Heath Hildebrandt would be the one that would be doing the engineering.
So, in your opinion, is this going to take a lot of city staff time, your time, to meet these deadlines? And you'll have to coordinate with him somewhat. But
Yeah, most of my coordination is at this point with Carol, and she was just put under the gun yesterday, where the FAA, we had in our engineering agreement or application to put in lights, and they're having to pull that out. So she's having to resubmit all of our engineering grant requests. And then we have this other application that's going on. So the biggest pressure at this point would be on her. Once the application is approved, then it'll go to the engineering, has to be turned around in a pretty quick manner, if everything is approved by council.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Are you ready?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I am thoroughly confused. You've got two different things there. There's no detail in the staff report. Heard this before. You get promised one thing, another thing gets delivered. So I have to say that I am very skeptical, okay? Because you don't even have in your narrative the breakdown. It's, you showing me in this, that it's 100%. I would feel much comfortable if you had two different sections, because one is an application that would be funded 100%. The other one is something that is totally different, and we have to have a match. So the two are not in agreement. We've been told that before, that no, it was only going to, that we made promises before by the consultant, the same one that we're using, and, she's, getting $800 a month. I still have not received any, statement from either you or our financial, manager as to the full breakdown of how much money has been spent on this board and how much have we recouped. But you have everything all in one.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I am done talking.
I understand that. I'm asking the mayor to intercede. I think that your tone towards staff is unprofessional.
All right, I will change my tone,
advise you to
but
change
it
it.
is,
Thank you.
nothing that I have said is not happened. We have, I would like to discuss, and every time we deal with the airport, it's like a subject that cannot be discussed. That we have to go forward. We have no other option than to go forward, because now we've spent money and we're going to spend some more money on that and more. So I'm extremely skeptical of all of this, because everything has been thrown into one. And the way that it stands, I'm not approving, or my vote isn't going to go to approving anything.
Can I ask where it was thrown into one?
I would like for you to break it out into two separate. One includes a match. One is the new one that we might be eligible for free funds.
But that's in the options. That's not in the request. The options, there's two options. The option one is where we have to find a match. Option two is
You're
where.
telling us that we don't have to have a match.
That's correct.
Right.
Yes.
So, but that's not the way that I read this narrative.
But as an option, if you choose not to go with the 100% funding, our other option is to keep moving forward with trying to get the discretionary funds and the grindings as a match. That's the other option.
That'd be stupid.
When did we approve that?
He's
Well,
asking us to.
It
I'm
hasn't been
asking a
approved.
question, Bryce, okay?
The council hasn't approved it. That's something that I'm moving forward with, but there's been no request to council. That is what I'm trying to do to pave the runway without the city spending any money.
I understand that.
Yes.
But we have in front of us two options that are totally different. Now, why would somebody go with an option that would cost us money
We wouldn't.
instead? Did I ask you? Thank you, Bruce. I'm talking to somebody in there, and I know that this is a subject that is totally dear to your heart.
But really, it's a simple question.
But you can allow me the courtesy of asking the questions from the staff. This narrative does not make sense to me.
You bet you don't never write it this way again.
I think what Mr. Craig was saying, there's one person on this council right now that decides to scold people.
I am not scolding.
That's what it sounds like to us.
I apologize if it sounds like scolding. If you feel like you're being scolded, if you are, I am not scolding. I am putting in my objections. The narrative I told you even before
Yes.
does not make sense to me, because you say, you had stated to me that there was going to be no match, and then all of a sudden, right there under options, the way that it reads is that we still are going through this, trying to find asphalt findings, which, we had reports, prior that it wasn't going to be available, they're not, it's not going, and it's not even been approved by the FAA as to whether that could be used as a match.
I believe that.
You have not given any report that could, the last I heard, that has never even been approved. So I have all these questions.
Well,
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
may I attempt to address what I think was one of your questions?
Yes, go ahead.
You asked why we would do one of the options over the other option, which on its face seems to be the clearest picture. My guess is that one of them involves a new grant application that we might not get. And if we determined that we didn't want to apply for that and go with the other option, which is maybe a little bit more concrete in terms of its likelihood, but it does involve that 5.5% match and would have to get the grindings and all that. That is an option that is before us, and we wanted to present both options. I believe that some of the confusion is that even in the option where there is no match, it still might be advantageous for us to try to request those grindings for, as you mentioned, other projects at the airport or otherwise that we could store. And so I think that's where some of the confusion came, that even if we went for the, on its face, more no cost to the city option, the 100% match option, that it would still be valuable for us to continue the effort that is already underway to try to request for and get the grindings. Is that more clear?
No, but thank you very much for your
Is that clear to everybody else?
Perfect, as it is.
I don't disagree with what you said, Bryce.
Well, you had mentioned that you thought that the narrative was confusing. And I
Yeah,
think
the narrative is still very confusing. I'd like to see it totally broken out, where it shows, if we go through this grant, it's going to be, nowhere does it show there. Do you have it actually written in there that's 100%, absolutely no match? I have no problem, for the city to be going after a grant that is fully funded.
That's what we're trying to do here.
There's nothing that why would I object to that?
On paragraph 1 of the last sentence, the federal share payable to the cost for which a grant is made under this heading to a non-primary airport shall be 100%.
And I apologize because,
Also,
you
if I may,
you were just
also
showing the other,
at the top of page 2 in that section where it says options, the second sentence is, this new opportunity provides 100% of the funding needed to replace the runway with no matching requirements. The city has not received a firm commitment in obtaining asphalt grindings from the Highway 5 construction project. But it's still hopeful to receive.
I did rush this, and I could have been much clearer in how I stated the options. They do combine the two together, and it is confusing, so I apologize for that. Could have been more clear.
well, I have no problem, because I know that you said that there's a deadline. These, this discretionary funds were just made available, and it has a quick turnaround time. But unless you break it out that, one is one thing, the other one is the other thing, then I have no problem with the city going after any part of that, $1 billion that's made available. If we qualify, as long as it is known that we have absolutely no match to it. I am not in favor of the second part because we've never really talked about it. It gets discussed with committee reports, but it hasn't really been discussed.
What second part? I'm confused.
If we were to be successful at obtaining the grindings or not, there's going to be a point where we would have to apply as part of our CIP program with the airport. There's a schedule there that you can see on the last page that 2018 does show a runway replacement. So what are we going to do there? And what we've been working on behind the scenes is how can we get that runway replaced at no cost to the general fund, really. It's supposed to be an enterprise, but we know that the general fund would have to subsidize it.
I
So
understand that. What I'm asking is, Ms. Chavez just said, I would be in favor in the city going after the money, but not the second part.
yeah, we haven't asked the council for any approval on the second part because we haven't gotten to that point yet.
Okay, so that's not something we're considering tonight.
No, if this falls through, as an option. So if this falls through, if the council chooses not to choose this, at some point I'll be coming back to the council for another application for grant fundings for the 90.5% or 94.5% in hopes that we have enough grindings for our match. But that would be down the road if we're successful. That has a lot of
But
it.
since we're not considering that
But
tonight,
all I'm saying, Bryce, is combined in this narrative.
That would be option 2, I would say. I should have broken them up as option 1, option 2. Option 2 would be if this option 1, if we don't want that, at some point I would come back to the council at a later date with option 2.
But under your recommendation, and your suggested motion,
Right, the motion
it would
carried.
just be to apply for the 100% match program.
Correct.
Okay. Can you call a vote, Mr. Mayor?
I was waiting for a motion.
I'll motion to authorize the city
I'm sorry.
manager to execute the grant applications for supplemental discretionary funds from the Federal Aviation Administrations for the funds needed to replace the Mott runway, and to authorize the city manager to execute any other documents associated with the acceptance of said grant funds from the FAA.
Can I amend the motion to just include the language that this program is the 100% match program?
Thank you. Thank you.
So
So you get a second with the amendment?
I'll second
I'd
it.
like
Can-
for you to
can we
read
restate-
what the,
can we restate it so that
Okay.
it says,
Go ahead, Bryce, say it.
so the amended motion would be to authorize the city manager to execute a grant application for supplemental discretionary funds in the amount of 100% of costs for the Federal Aviation Administration for the funds needed to replace the Mott runway, and to authorize the city manager to execute any other documents associated with the acceptance of said grant funds from the FAA.
The only difference is you said for the Federal Aviation and you mean from.
That's correct.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
We don't need a road, there's no money involved, right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
it's been included that 100% that.
Yes.
That's
In
correct.
the motion, yeah.
It's in the motion.
I will vote for it.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor of adjourning, or do we have anything you want to talk
Mr.
about?
Mayor?
Vote is out.
Oh, that's right, I'd like to have a moment of silence. You don't have to stand, I know there's a lot of people that would like to stay seated. So if we could just remain in our seats and just take a moment and think about, hell, our buddy Josh, the people, man. God bless him, amen, thank you, council.
Anything before we adjourn?